Hello, my name is Bridget Gila, and welcome to another episode of My Bridge to Wellness. Today, I am standing near the Dragon's Gate in San Francisco, Chinatown, one of my most favorite places to visit. Experience the supernatural side of one of the city's most famous neighborhoods on the San Francisco Ghost Tour. During this evening's walking tour, you'll explore the streets of Chinatown with our tour guide, Cynthia Yee, who fills you in on the various spirits said to haunt this historic area. Hear the chilling tales and mysteries and enjoy an alternative way to discover Chinatown. Enjoy the tour. I've been on your tour once before. And the reason why I came on the tour in the past was because Chinatown brings so much comfort to me. I used to come here with my grandmother. We lived in South City.
Oh, okay.
And we would take the bus and pick up our vegetables and pastries. Yeah. But then going through the tour with you, I had such a great love for it even more.
Thank you. Well, you get the best vegetables and pastries here in Chinatown.
Yes,
I bet you got some egg tarts.
The egg tart is a kind of custard tart found in Greater China, deriving from the English custard tart and the Portuguese pastel de nata. The dish consists of an outer pastry crust filled with egg custard. Egg tarts are often served at dim sum restaurants. Shall we begin?
Okay.
Yeah.
So walk this way.
Okay.
My grandfather and great-grandfather came to America in 1885. They actually witnessed the 1906 fire and earthquake. 3 days before the fire, my grandfather, he was only 12 years old at the time, he actually saw a brown cow coming down Grand Avenue. Well, what's a brown cow doing here in Chinatown? Cow Hollow is way over the Marina District. On the same day of the fire, he saw the same brown cow. He grabbed my great-grandfather and they both ran down 2 blocks to Montgomery Street. That was the actual Embarcadero of San Francisco. Ferry boat was waiting for them. They got on and the captain took them over to a small town called Vallejo. Started the first Chinatown in Vallejo. My granduncle was the Chinese deputy sheriff of Solano County, and my uncle was the first Chinese coroner of the San Francisco Police Department. So all stories that I tell are actually told to me by them. I am not a ghost hunter or ghostbuster. However, I do like to talk about the haunted history of Chinatown.
Cindy, it's such a beautiful night, but I feel like a haircut. I also need my clothes washed. Where would I go?
This used to be called the 5 and 10 cent street. 5 cents for a haircut, 10 cents to do your laundry for a week.
Amazing.
After a long day's work, the laundrymen would go upstairs to their apartments, and that's where they would share a meal. And to spend the time, they would always play a game of cards. George and Sam from the same village in Canton, China, actually share that apartment right there. You see that fire escape there? Mm-hmm. George was the older of the two, so he did all of the cooking. Well, this one night, after a nice meal, ready to start the game of cards, George asked Sam to go downstairs to get him a newspaper. He said, "Sam, go downstairs to get me a newspaper. When you come back, we'll start the game of cards." Sam, the nice guy that he was, did. Came back with the newspaper. Sam went underneath his bed to get a box of money. In those days, everyone kept their money in a Robert Burns cigar box. Well, cigar box was gone. Immediately, Sam said to George, "You tricked me. You sent me downstairs to get you a newspaper. In the meantime, you stole all of my money." George was offended. He said, "Sam, you are like a little brother to me. I would never steal your money. I only win it from you." Well, before you know it, they started to have a fight. Sam started to chase George down the hallway. As he was doing so, he went into the kitchen area, got himself a cleaver, continued to fight with him, and before you know it, he accidentally slitted his throat.
Accidentally.
He said it was an accident. But Years later, two little boys were playing in that hallway, rolling the ball back and forth, back and forth. All of a sudden, the ball went into the kitchen area. Two little boys went into the kitchen to retrieve the ball. No ball was to be found. Moments later, the ball came bouncing down the hall by itself. Elders said that it was the spirit of George looking for Sam. Sam was never indicted for the crime. In those days, whatever happened in Chinatown stayed in Chinatown. But Family Association found him guilty, so they actually hung him down at the park. And we'll go to that in a few moments.
Okay.
Here's the plaque for the Barbary Coast Trail. And of course, these are all the alleyways where all the illegal activities took place. You see that metal ladder down there? This leads to 3 blocks of sewage tunnels here in Chinatown. In the year 1900, San Francisco was infested with the bubonic plague. People here in Chinatown were dying of the bubonic plague, but we couldn't afford to let City Hall know about that, otherwise this whole area would be quarantined. Not only that, many of the people here in Chinatown would actually be deported. So what would happen is when a person died of the bubonic plague, they used to wrap them in a white sheet, rope them, put them on a piece of plywood, and shoot it down this sewage tunnel into the bay. And the bay was only 2 blocks away on Montgomery Street. So when they excavated for the Embarcadero Center, they found many, many artifacts that was from the 1900s.
And rewind. The disease that spread like wildfire through Europe between 1347 and 1351 is still the most violent epidemic in recorded history. It killed at least a third of the population, more than 25 million people. Victims first suffered pain, fever and boils, then swollen lymph nodes and blotches on the skin. After that, they vomited blood and died within 3 days. The survivors called it the Great Pestilence. Victorian scientists dubbed it the Black Death.
So this group is called Lion Dance Me, and they are very young high school students, and they learn the martial arts, and it's just a wonderful activity. There are many capable young people here, and it keeps them off the streets. It's the most wonderful thing that has happened to Chinatown. Why do you think we're in the basement, in these basements in the olden days?
I'm thinking something shady.
Something shady. What is shady to you?
Gambling?
Gambling, that's correct. So the guard used to be standing here. When the police came to raid, he used to ring a bell. This would warn the guard at the second gate. The guard at the second gate would warn the guard at the third gate. So by the time the Irish policeman came running down the stairs, Chinese had time to go through the back way into an underground tunnel. And that's how they got away from the police department. Today, it is a rehearsal hall for Chinese opera. Chinese opera was the only form of entertainment in the olden days, but nowadays it's taken a revival, and Chinese opera clubs are very, very popular again.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. No, I do have a question.
Yes.
So where did the underground tunnel lead to?
It actually led from here, from all the way down to the other end of the block.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow.
And there were quite a few underground tunnels, but we don't have them anymore. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what they say. I've never been in one myself, but for sure.
Yeah.
They talk about it.
Do you know the square footage?
I think they were very extremely narrow.
Okay.
And they used to run through. They could run from one store to another. You know.
This place is so fascinating.
Yes, because every building had a door that led to the underground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bridget, have you ever heard about Fung Shui?
Yes, I don't know the details, but I know if there's two windows and the door right in the center, it could be maybe
Not so good.
Not so good. Yes, right.
Okay, you are correct. So Chinese believe in evil spirits. They believe that evil spirits only know how to travel in straight lines. They don't know how to turn right, and they don't know how to turn left. So what do you do if the evil spirit's coming along this alleyway and you live across the street in that building? How do you stop that evil spirit from coming into your living room?
Reflect. A reflection?
A reflection. Very good. You see on that window, what do you see? Mirrors hanging, don't you?
Oh, yes.
You see the little round mirrors?
I do.
So there's 4 rows of windows right now. And every window actually has a small, what we call bat gua feng shui mirror. And these mirrors are placed there specifically to deflect any spirits coming from the alleyway.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
where can we get these mirrors?
we could get it in any store in Chinatown.
In Chinatown,
Yes,
of course.
So say like you are working and you don't like your coworker that is across the way, you hang a mirror right in front of your cubicle or your office, and that will deflect any of the negative activities that she may have against you. That's not very nice, is it? So if your coworker all of a sudden sees a mirror in front of your cubicle, then they know something's wrong. We're on Sacramento Street, and Sacramento Street is known as Tong Gai, means the Chinese street. This is the first street that the Chinese were ever allowed to live on and to do business on. Across the street is our own Hotel Yimca. We like to call that the Yimca Hotel only because it houses the only swimming pool here in Chinatown. Back in 1945, my own Uncle Gus was a Boy Scout here in Chinatown. Now in 1945, if you were a Boy Scout, that is very hot stuff. He and his friends liked to go swimming, but his mom did not allow him to go swimming in this particular YMCA. In those days, you never question your mother why. You only do as told. But that didn't stop them from wanting to go swimming one night. So he and his other Boy Scout friends decided to break through the window, break through the gate, break through the screen, and they all went swimming in the dark. They were having a great time when all of a sudden my Uncle Gus said he felt a presence. He felt someone or something pulling him down to the bottom of the swimming pool. He started to panic. He was a member of this church, so he began to pray. As he was praying, he said a bright light shined on him, allowing his friends to know that he was in trouble. They pulled him up from the bottom of the swimming pool and they ran like hell out of there. Didn't dare tell their mother what had happened. Years after, he found out what really happened. 2 little boys had drowned in the swimming pool. Nobody in Chinatown wanted their son to be number 3. So have you ever heard of something like that, where bad things happens in 3? We are here at the Hang-A Tea House. Hang-A means the fragrant alley. And the reason why it's called a fragrant alley is because back in the 1930s, there used to be a German chemist that used to live in this alleyway, and his job was to make perfumes for ladies of the evening. I'll show you. Ladies of the evening used to be behind these windows here, and behind the window were the actual brothels. So back in 1939, Captain Mannion of the San Francisco Police Department came out to clean up Chinatown. He said no more ladies of the evening allowed. They must get married. They must have a family. Well, how does a lady of the evening do that? She still owes so much money to her slave owner that kidnapped her out of Canton, China. There was one lady named Anna Wong. Anna Wong was a middle-aged lady, and she was lucky enough to find a shoemaker from Sacramento Street that had enough money to buy out her contract. Got married, became Mr. and Mrs. Ah-Hing, and they actually live in that apartment right there in the second window.
Are they still living there now?
Oh, she's long gone. Anna Wong was finally happy and contented that she had someone to take good care of her. But back in 1942, Ah Hing was called to war. It was in Normandy, France, that he was in a tank that turned over. Ah Hing never came home, and Anna Wong actually died of heartbreak waiting for her husband to come home. Oftentimes people say that when they come through this alleyway, they actually smell the scent of lotus flowers. And lotus flowers was the exact perfume that this German chemist made for Anna Wong. What happened was that about 5 years ago, Annette Martin, who wrote the book, The Ghost Detectives of San Francisco, she was on a photo shoot here with me, just like you are right now.
Yes.
All of a sudden, she had this pounding sensation. She looked at me and says, energies are too strong. We did. We took photos like we are doing right now. And after that evening, when the photographer uploaded all the photos completely had no color. It was really strange. So I mentioned that to my friend who's now 85 years old. She said that her father used to run a little candy store right next door here in this alleyway. She said every night when she was ready to go to sleep, she also had this pounding sensation. No doctor in Chinatown could cure her. Finally, her mother went to the Taoist temple, got a hold of the priest there. Priest came back to look at the building and said, you must move away. Energies are too strong. The minute they moved up the hill, all symptoms stopped. It was really strange. St. Mary's Chinese School. That's where I went to Chinese school. And I belonged to the drum and bugle chorus. I was a little majorette. And we used to practice about 8 o'clock at night after school. And the only restroom was up on the 4th floor. So it was very, very spooky because I was up there by myself going to the restroom when all of a sudden the stall next door started to flush all by itself. Not only that, the door was swinging and there was no one up there on the 4th floor with me. So imagine when you're 10 years old, as a child, that's pretty spooky. Needless to say, I ran all the way down 4 flights of stairs really quickly.
Are there any traditions in regards to the sun, the moon, stars, even the ocean?
There is. There is a love story called Love on the Magpie Bridge. And it is a story of the moon goddess, and it was her daughter that she was called the weaver's daughter, and she fell in love with the cow herder who was here on earth, and from that day on she was only allowed to see her husband once a year.
When all the magpies in the world heard this love story, they were so moved that they flew up in the sky to form a bridge in the heavens with their wings, so the lovers could meet together for a single night. Since then, as the legend goes, once a year, on July 7th, the magpies build a bridge across the Milky Way to help New Lang and Zinu meet each other. That night, inspired by the Magpie Bridge, Chinese people meet their sweethearts and romantically gaze together at the sky.
So on the anniversary of the 7th month, at the 7th day, the weaver's daughter would be able to come and see her husband, and it was only once a year. So it's a very sad story, but also a very loving story.
Did they have babies?
Not at the time the story was written. We are here on Spockford Alley. Spockford Alley is a pretty notorious alleyway because what do you hear, Bridget? Do you hear anything strange in this alleyway?
I'm feeling like I hear mahjong.
Yes,
Is
that's
it
right.
mahjong?
So no matter gift shop, noodle factory, sewing factory, what's really behind the door is big time mahjong playing.
Very familiar with mahjong. My grandmother, in Tagalog we call our grandmothers
Yes,
Lola.
yes,
And
Nona.
all of our parties, all of our gatherings.
Always
we
had
can
mahjong.
always,
how
so
fun.
it's very symbolic and it's very relaxing when I hear the little clangs of the
Oh.
little mahjong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet, sweet. Well, on the second floor is the Asian Taxicab Driver Association. Back in 1945, Chinese wanted to do big business, but it was still a time of discrimination where it was difficult for a Chinese person to do business outside of Chinatown. The only way you could do that is you go rent a taxi cab. For $25 a night, you get a business license, you get a taxi cab, and any fare over $25 you get to keep. Bob Lum held 10 taxi cab permits here in Chinatown. He was known as the taxi cab king. Every Friday night, had a standing reservation to come here to Spockford Alley to pick up the most beautiful lady of the evening, Mei Li. Mei Li was so beautiful, her business was not here in Chinatown. It was up in Nob Hill.
Oh,
Well,
of
this
course.
particular Friday night, Bob comes to pick up Mei Li. Mei Li gets into the taxi. He says hello, but she didn't say hello back. Pretty unusual because of the fact she was always so friendly. He decided she had a bad day. So he closes the door of the taxi for her and begins driving up Washington Street. 3 blocks up the hill, he looks in the rearview mirror. By this time, she's crying. For sure, he didn't want to disturb her. 3 more blocks up the hill, he gets to the front of the Fairmount Hotel. Alex, the doormat, comes to open the door for beautiful Mei Li. But there's no one in the back
That's
seat.
what I was waiting for. I'm getting the chills as I'm waiting for it.
No one in the back seat, so Alex yells at him, "Where's Mei Li? All her friends are waiting for her in room 209. Well, Bob knew he picked up Mei Li. When did she get out of the taxi? His own heart began to pound. He closes the door of the taxi, drives himself straight down to Lombard Street, where all the taxi cab drivers would take their coffee break. He went inside, ordered himself a cup of hot coffee to try to compose himself. Well, even before that cup of coffee came to the counter, he saw that there was a newspaper article that said, "Beautiful lady found dead in Chinatown that morning." And it was a picture of Mei Li. That story was never solved here in Chinatown. Mei Li was a lady of the evening, so they so-called swept it under the carpet. But 3 a.m., all these gamblers start to go home. They always see a white dove perched on that balcony, just sitting there, beautiful, chirping away. And the elders said it is the spirit of Mei Li. Jenny is my friend. So one day I'm passing by and she hangs that mirror. I said, "Jenny, you're not at the end of the cul-de-sac. Why do you want to hang a mirror?"
And how long ago was this?
This was about a year ago.
Okay.
And she said, "Oh, across the street, too much gambling. Not good for business. Energy is too strong." 2 weeks later, I see Mr. Lee, who is the custodian for the gambling house. He's hung 2 mirrors against Jenny. And I said, "Oh, Mr. Lee, why do you have to hang a mirror against Jenny? She sells flowers. Aren't flowers happy?" He said, "Oh, that Jenny, all she knows how to do is make funeral arrangements." Yes.
Are you the San Francisco expert?
Expert, yes, I
Yes, she
am.
is,
I
yes.
am.
Did you grow up here or somewhere else?
Only a block away.
Take a look at the large.
They're like, forget it. Can't leave. This is a really fascinating machine.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's been here since 1962. So everything is made by hand. You could see it's a labor of love. And she inserts the cookie and folds it over the metal bar. Mấy cái hoàng色嘅我鹹啊知道。Take one. Fooling you.
No, no, I'm good.
The sexy one.
I'll give it to the kid.
No!
Careful. Oh boy.
Midget always gets.
I don't.
So these two machines can produce every day 10,000 cookies
Oh, that's
folded
amazing.
by hand.
You know, any of the technology that was built way back then lasts forever.
Yes,
Today, anything that's built today is pretty much made out of plastic.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, look at these are iron.
Yeah. So it's been here since 1962, this particular, but actually the cookie was, fortune cookie was actually invented 1894. So, oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the alleyways become a street for Chinatown. So Chinatown is made up of all the alleyways, and most of our alleyways actually connect here in Chinatown. So you could go from one alleyway into another through a little door or fence, and you're in another street where there's businesses and people living there.
Okay, and they're the little gates here.
Little gate
Little
downstairs
doors.
is the art
Doors.
gallery, and then down there. So Bridget, this alleyway, we are here at St. Louis Alley, and this is a very sad alley because of the fact that the young girls that were kidnapped out of Canton, China, were actually auctioned off here. So there was a lot of sadness and crying and panic. So what I would like you to do is walk up to the ramp where the third step is.
Yeah.
Hold your hands out freely and count to 10 very slowly, like 1001, 1002. And if you could get to 10, you come back and tell me what you feel.
One 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010.
Did you feel anything?
Yes. So
What did you feel? Was it your imagination, or did you actually feel some heaviness?
I didn't feel heaviness, actually, because I felt like I was in a slight prayer. In some sort of prayer, I felt light.
Light?
Yes. My hands are normally somewhat warm, but I felt a chill in my hands.
Okay.
Yeah, my
Yes.
hands and my arms.
Yeah. Because a lot of times people say that they feel the young girls actually pulling them towards them, pulling the person towards them. And so some people feel here, some people feel here, and things like that.
It's so sad.
So it's so sad. So the young girls were only maybe 12 years old. So that's why there's so much sadness in the alleyway. And so that's why you feel this pulling, because they don't want to go. They just want to stay.
Yeah. At that time in their age, they're not ready to leave their parents.
Oh, no,
They still
no.
yearn for their parents.
Right.
And they're scared. I mean,
They were
anyone
very
would be
frightened,
scared.
very frightened.
Yeah.
This here is the East-West Bank. That used to be our old Chinatown telephone exchange.
Telephone exchange.
We had a very unique service here in Chinatown because the Chinese couldn't read the English telephone directory. So we had 8 operators that actually spoke in 5 different dialects. So all you have to do here in Chinatown is pick up the phone, say, I want to speak to Mr. Wong. He lives on Washington Street above the bookstore. Well, that operator would have to know which Mr. Wong you wanted to talk to. We have many, many Mr. Wongs living here in Chinatown. But it was a very unique service because all the operators used to walk up flights of stairs, knocked on the doors, and met everybody. They memorized over 1,000 telephone numbers. It was a very, very unique service, but we lost it in 1949 when the automatic dial phone was finally installed here in Chinatown. But up until then, we're the only telephone exchange of its kind throughout the United States. Now look at the building carefully. It is the only detached building here in Chinatown.
Yeah, it is.
All other buildings are actually attached. There are no residents living in these buildings. That over there is an accounting service. Well, every April 13, 14, and 15, these accountants have to work very late in the evening. They say that as soon as the Grant Place restaurant closes at midnight, they actually could hear ladies talking on the switchboard.
So, are these different stories upstairs?
Yes, the telephone exchange used to be on the 2nd floor of this pagoda. There is nothing there right now. So what is it that these accountants hear every year?
That's what
They
I'm
hear
wondering.
all the ladies talking on the switchboard. And not only that, but the janitor that sweeps up at night, he says that he always hears ladies walking around in high-heel shoes. And you know there's nothing up there right now.
There's nothing
No.
up there. And what about the very, very top? Is that
Very
a
top,
some
it's
sort of
nothing. It used to be like a part of the, you could see how small, right, the area, so I think it went all the way through. So it looks like, yeah, but it wasn't. Okay, so we should throw some poppers.
Good luck.
Good luck, and to make sure no evil spirits follow you home tonight.
No evil.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Be gone.
We're here in Portsmouth Plaza, and this is where San Francisco all began. It was the year 1846 when Captain Montgomery actually raised the first American flag here, claiming California part of the United States. Over here is a memorial to Robert Louis Stevenson, author and poet from Scotland. He was here in Portsmouth Plaza. He actually used to sit on a bench, watch the boats come in, and actually do a lot of his writing. Robert Louis Stevenson was very kind to the Chinese people. He helped them fill in a lot of application forms and taught them a lot of the English language because in those days the Chinese were not allowed to enter public schools. Talk about public schools. Our first public school in California is represented by a rock on the other side of the park. It is a little red schoolhouse that was totally destroyed in our 1906 fire and earthquake. In order to rebuild very quickly, we had to build tents. And the person that provided all the material for the tents was Levi Strauss. Levi Strauss made the tents with cotton thread. Ran out of cotton thread, replaced it by using the metal rivets. So when you were wearing your Levi's, you're actually wearing the history of San Francisco. All started right here in Portsmouth Plaza.
I can't help but to notice line dancing here in Chinatown.
Yes! You know, there are approximately 24,000 people living within the 24 blocks. And many of the residents actually live in single room occupancy. So there is nowhere to go or to relax, but to come out here after dinner to do some line dance and exercise before they call it an evening. And so that's why we were so upset when there was an assault last night. So you could see there's a lot of policemen around
I
right
see
now.
that.
So.
And because this is considered the Chinatown's backyard.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
This is Chinatown's only backyard.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you remember my...
I do. Absolutely.
Thank you, Bridget.
Yes. I love practicing Falun Dafa. Have you heard of Falun Dafa? They practice, it's
Yeah, Falun, yes, I do.
Yeah. I do practice Falun Dafa.
You do? Oh,
I do.
okay.
Every time we'd come here, I would notice them practicing.
Yes,
and so
during the daytime, they have a, yes.
One time I just followed them, and I never stopped from that point on.
Wow.
Yeah, it just feels good. It's very similar to Tai Chi to me.
Yes, yes. It's very nice form of relaxation.
Yep. Yeah. Cindy, I thoroughly enjoyed your tour today, and I would absolutely come back to see you again.
Thank you, Bridget.
Just to see your sweet smile.
Thank you so much, Bridget. I hope you enjoyed some of my stories.
Absolutely. I have to ask, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for about 15 years, the Ghost Tour. And I enjoy meeting people, and especially people like you, to share my stories and share my family's history. So I am very, very pleased. So you must come back again. We'll have a meal next time, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring a bunch of people with me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please do.
A nice field trip.
Okay. So shall we throw off the poppers?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. One, two, three.